Guys, welcome to DigitalTechJoint. I hope everybody is doing good. So in this tutorial, we are going to show you how to use OpenTelemetry in your ASP.NET application and connect the output to Azure Application Insights to record all your logs, traces and metrics. For this, we are going to use a tool, open source tool called OpenTelemetry. Now, what is an OpenTelemetry? OpenTelemetry is a set of collection of API, SDKs that you can use it and integrate in your application to record all your traces, metrics, and the logs. Now, the output of this can be connected. Now, the moment you connect your NuGet packages of OpenTelemetry in your ASP.NET application, you can then broadcast those outputs to any of the channels. Specifically, you can output it to Azure Application Insights, or you can then use Grafana, where you can use connect it and show. So these are the tools that they have given, and this is the instruction. It's supposed to following the languages. So here we are going to use .NET, and it has the .NET OpenTelemetry's .NET libraries. And then obviously, as I told you, it has a source code, but it is a very detailed and comprehensive code base. So I thought I'll just extract a few of the information and then show you in this tutorial how to connect this open source tool in your ASP.NET application and then connect that output to Microsoft Azure Insight. Now here you can also use Grafana. So there is a tool called Grafana. It's a monitoring tool, so you can use Grafana, and you can display all your application logs and matrices and live, and also in offline mode you can check what are the exceptions. You can troubleshoot things faster, and you can get graphs and what is the request failure, what is the database failure, everything. And there is something called Jaeger also that is used here for telemetrics. So here it's like this is one more open source. So this is one more tool that you can use to basically track all your issues, logs and everything. So here what we are going to do is that instead of using these tools, we since we have our Azure tutorial playlist as well, so I also thought that let me use Azure App Insights, which is right over here, and push those logs to our Azure monitoring insights, so that you can get an insight of what visual insights of how the application is performing, and how do you track the failures and everything. So very interesting tutorial, and I guess it is very helpful for .NET developers or web developers basically to integrate this OpenTelemetry in their .NET application to utilize and such ready-made tools to graphically show what are the exception logs and everything. So for us, in this tutorial, we are going to use obviously Visual Studio 2022 .NET Framework 9, and we are going to use Azure App Insights that I'll show how to proceed. So let's get started and start our Visual Studio and create a project. So I'm just opening Visual Studio 2022. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project, and my recent template ASP.NET Core Web App Module View Controller. Let's select this and click on next. This is OpenTelemetry demo, and this is the default path. You can change the path, and I'll click on create. The first thing that we are going to do is also here I have actually enabled configure HTTPS. So let me just run the application once, because I've enabled HTTPS, so which I didn't want it. Let me just run the application once. So fine, so we will use so this is a template, this is a boilerplate created. Now what I'm going to do is that first we are going to create a CRUD application. We will create an employee database, and we will list the employees, add new records, edit, delete, and in between the entire operations we will also have some fields request and also we will explicitly inject some issues in the database, so that all this can be seen in our Azure App Insights. So before we proceed, let's add the required packages. So I'm going to click on manage NuGet packages, click on browse, and since I'm creating a CRUD application, first I will need all my entity framework libraries. So let me search Microsoft entity, Microsoft dot entity, and let me just search this. So here we have Microsoft Entity Framework Core version 906 installed. Let me push this over here. I accept and let it go below. Okay, so this is installed. Then we have Microsoft Entity Framework Core tools installed. Then we have Microsoft Entity Framework Core .SQL Server. We install this as well. And then there is design, Microsoft Entity Framework Core .design. So once you select this NuGet, I'm not explaining what the NuGet package does. It is right over here. You can read it. But these are packages that are required for this application. So once we have the basic NuGet packages for creating a CRUD app, which is you can see it over here installed, we will now add the NuGet packages for OpenTelemetry, right? So for that, let's go back to our browse and let's select, just type in OpenTelemetry. Okay, and click on search, and I'll tell you what all things you need to handle. So first is OpenTelemetry instrumentation.http. So this is one. Then we have extension hosting. We need to install this as well. And then since we are integrating in core, we also need to download OpenTelemetry.asp.NET core. Okay, we install this. And finally, since we are integrating with Azure, so make sure that you have this one, that is Microsoft Monitor OpenTelemetry.exporter. Okay, this is important. And we also install this. So guys, we have installed the required packages. Here you can have a glance. So we have all our packages installed over here. I just want to remove this, and you can see we have Azure Monitor OpenTelemetry, then Entity Framework Core, Design, SQL Server Tools, and OpenTelemetry Hosting, ASP.NET Core, and then finally HTTP. So all our packages are installed. Now let's go ahead and create a model and add a class. Let's add a class. We'll quickly create a CRUD application. In that way, you'll also learn how to create application that performs your CRUD operations. So here I'm going to name it as entity employee. So this is my entity employee. Okay, so now I'm going to add certain properties. So these are the properties that I've added. So first we have public ID, then we have public string, that is the name of the employee, email address, and department. All are required field, and we also had a validation of string, that is string length 100 for employee. Email address required, department is required. Okay, so this is an email address field that we are accepting over here. So this is a model that we created, employees, and these are the properties. So once we have done this, let us go ahead and add a folder called data and add the application DB context class. So this will be my application DB context class, and here I'm going to implement or add some references using Microsoft.entity core, and this will inherit my DB context. So once this is done, I'm going to click over here and select this one and say create generate with DB context class. So this is the class, so this I don't want it. So here application DB context options, and here we are going to inject the connection string from the program.cs file. There are a lot of CRUD applications demo that is there in my channel. Please do go in and refer it for an explanation of what I am doing right now over here. Focus is to create an application that connects to that integrates OpenTelemetry and connects to an Azure. So that is why I'm proceeding with this CRUD, not focusing more on this CRUD, but just go through do the demo as I'm doing it, and it will work for you. So let me add the dbset class. So this is public dbset, and I'm going to call this as employee. So there's an entity. Okay, so this is a class entity employee that I've created, and this is my employees. Okay, employees. Okay, so this is a table that I'll just going to name it as details. Okay, so this is a db set, and this is how the table will be created in the database when I run the migration command. Now let's go ahead and add the connection string in our app setting files. Here I'm going to add the connection string. I'm going to say enter. So I'm just going to paste the connection string here. So this is the connection string that I have added, and this is my server Trinity-DigitalTechJoint. Database will be let me call it OpenTeleemployee DB. Okay, and this is semicolon trusted underscore connection is through, multi-active result set is true, and trust server certificate is true. So this is a connection string for our database. Our database is, I'll just open the database. It is SQL Server Management Studio 20. So I'll just open this as well, and once we run the migration command, this database will be created in our database with the table that we defined in the DB context class, that is employee details. Okay, so now let's go to programs, and let's add that dependency injection over here. So that is my dog Rocky. Okay, anyways, so I'm going to inject the DB connection string over here. Let me just check what is the default connection. Default connection is just copy this string, come over here, and then say builders.services.add DB context, and then you say application DB context. This is a class, and I'm going to say options, and here it will be options dot use SQL server, and this will be builders dot configuration dot get connection string dot yeah. So this is what I've created now. So everything is set. The first thing we are going to do now is run the migration command. We have a model class where we have defined the properties. We have our DB context class where we have injected. We will be injecting the DB connection string in the options parameter, and we also add the tables. So now we will go ahead and open the migration. You get tools and migration, tools migration DB console, package console. Here I'm going to just close this window and just drag it, just increase a little bit of font, and say add migration initial DB setup. So this is our first initial setup. So build started, and you should be able to see the migration folder on the Solution Explorer. Yes, you can see migration folder over here, and you can see all the migration commands inside that. And once this is done, I'm going to just say update -database. So now it is starting. Hopefully, yes, it's all done. It's successfully executed. So now if I go to my SQL Server database, I should be able to see OpenTeleemployee database, and I should be able to see the database table as well. You can see employee details. Fine. So these are the properties that we created. Should be over here: ID, name, email, and department. Fine. So now our migration command is done and our application is set up. What we are going to do is that before we integrate OpenTelemetry, okay, we will actually finish the controller class. In the view, we'll have an UI which will enable us to list all the employee details, add details, and update and delete. For that, let us create a controller and start doing our main activity. Okay. So let me create a controller class and let me name this as controller. Let me select an empty one and let this be remove controller 1 and just name it as employee. So this is my controller employee. So I have my controller now ready, and inside the controller first I'm going to write code to fetch the employee details. Okay, so let's do that and proceed with the coding. So let's first refer our application DB context. So I'm going to say private read only, and this will be application DB context, and this will be underscore. Okay, and then I'm going to create a constructor CTOR tab, and here I'm going to inject. So I'm going to application DB context. This is my context class, and here I'm going to initiate this, assign this to this object. So once that is done, this is my once that is done, I'm going to use this one, current default index, to fetch the records. So this is a view over here. What I'm going to simply do is that say return view, and I'm going to first create a view. So right click on this and say add view, say empty view, and this is index. I'm going to add it. You can see under views, employee folder view is created. We will add code to this later. First we'll go to our employee controller class, and here I'm going to say return view. This will be simply underscore context dot employees details dot to list. Okay, so this is done. So let us go and simply add code to the view to display the record. So let me include the class that I'm going to use it. I'm going to say model I enumerable, and here I'm going to call the entity. So this will be my OpenTelemetry demo dot models dot entity employee. Okay, so here you can see I've added this. Now I'm going to just simply get the information from database and display it over here. So this is a small piece of code. So we have a container called class called container. Then this is the employee list. This is the reference to add new employee. We are going to create the view for that, and also the controller code. Here we are adding a table, and then we are defining the headers, that is name, email, department, and action means whether we want to edit and delete. Okay, and then we are looping the model and displaying the name, email, department, and the reference for edit and delete by passing the employee ID. So this is the code. So let's also add the reference over here. So let me go to the shared and layout, and here I'll just expand it, and here you can see the code. It's home, and let me just copy this, and this is my controller, that is employee, and this is my index. So this will list. Let's run this quickly so that we will come to know whether our database connectivity is there and we are able to see the records. I'm going to click on home. Home means employee. Yes, it is successful, so it's not home. I'll just change it to employees. Okay, so here we are able to see that the data is getting fetched. If you want, right click on, go to the database and just say edit top 200 rows, and you can simply write the name over here, alex@yahoo.com, and department information tech. Okay, so here you can see I've added this. Now if I run this application, I should be able to see one record. Now we are going to add code so that we can add the employees from here. So this is employee. You can click over here. You can see it's been added. Let's quickly add an update and delete functionality also to be enabled. So this is the code over here. Let's create a view. So I'm going to say public I action result create and this will be return view. So I'm going to right click and say add view. This will be create. So we see you can add it over here. Now we'll write the code for that, but we will complete the code to save the record. So I'm going to say this will be a post. This will be HTTP post. This will be public I action result create an entity employee. This is my entity employee. This is my EMP details. And once I have the record, what I'm going to do is that check if the model is valid. If model state is valid, okay, let this, okay, so if the model state is valid, then I'm going to say underscore context dot employees dot add employee details underscore context dot save changes. Okay, and then I'm going to say return view, and this will be details. Okay, so this will be not return view, this will return view, and this will be index. So once we successfully add it, it is returning. So let's see whether, so we go to our create and simply add the code for Azure code over here. Yeah, so I'm going to first refer the model class. So this will model, this will be OpenTelemetry demo and models, and this will be entity employees. Okay, and then I'm going to just paste the code. This is a simple form, Azure form that I created. So again, we are going to create a class container, create new employee. This is a form action method create that I have created, which will be a post. You can see that over here. So this is the method over here. We can add a breakpoint, and then we are adding the form. We are creating a label and input with name, email, department. So these are the things that we are saving. Okay, so let's run this and see whether we are able to add new employees from our front end. So click on employees and then we click on create. So we are not able to find this entity, employee entity. So employee entity and then create. So let me just check. I'm going to the index and employee entity create. So this is employee, it's not employee entity, this is employee. So this is employee because our view is employee, and under the employee we have a create. So now let's see. Employee and create, you get the form now. About gmail.com as for marketing. So we click on save. Here you can see it is we have breakpoints enabled. Here you can see the details. We have the details, it's valid, and it is also saved successfully. So let's do the edit part as well, but there is an error over here. Let me just check. Okay, so once we have the listing, we are passing, so we need to get to the listing. So this is a wrong way of passing. We'll just correct it. It is return redirect to action index. So we had added 2 records, so we'll add one more and just check whether here you can see now the proper redirection will happen. So we are now completed with the addition. We can quickly do the edit as well. We will just quickly do the edit. So in edit we will just copy paste this one, action create, and this will be, the moment you edit you also need to pass the ID. So this will be edit and this will be int ID, and here we are going to fetch the records. So we are going to say var emp contest dot employee details dot find ID, and just pass this view over here, and here we need to create this view. Right click and say edit. So this will be edit. So it will be a similar form as create. We will refer the model class first. So here as well, model, and this will be open. Sorry, this will be dot models dot, and this will be a create class. So it's similar to create. Action will be edit, post, and rest all will be the same. Here I'll go back to my employee controller and I'll create a post method similarly that I created over here. So this I'm going to paste it, this will be post, and this will be my edit. And here I'm going to pass the employee details. This is also going to check the validity, and here I'm going to say employee contest, instead of add I'll say update, and remaining will be the same. So let me also note here in edit, you need to pass the input type hidden ID. Remember this, which is not there in the create, because in create we don't have an ID. In edit we have to pass the ID so that application knows which ID, which employee ID you are updating. Okay. So with this, let me also check the edit functionality, and then we will include OpenTelemetry in our project. So I'm going to say employees and edit. Okay, so here also I think so the URL for edit is wrong. Let me just double click on edit and index, and this is not employee, this is just employee, and this is also employee. We will skip the delete functionality because our main agenda for this video is to integrate of telemetry. This is just to show you in real time how things work. So we are going to just focus on let me rerun it once. Okay, we click on employees. Here you can see edit. Now Alex. Okay, we have changed the name and you can see it's updated. Guys, so we are complete through with our CRUD app. Now let's proceed with our integrating of telemetrics in our project. So for that, first thing we need to do is that we had added all the necessary package as I mentioned. Okay, which you can just check in the start of this demo. So our telemetrics packages are added, but now I need to instruct the program.cs file that to include telemetrics and to record the logs, matrices and traces. For that what you need to do is that in your program.cs, the first thing is that you need to say capture logs comments, and this code will actually help you to capture the logs. For that you need to also refer your OpenTelemetrics libraries, which is already over there, but we will include those libraries also, which will be automatically added. If not added, we will add it. So builder.logging.add OpenTelemetrics, yes, you can see now, and options Okay, and here I'm going to add options. Okay, options dot include scopes cursor through, then options dot our status values equals to true, then options dot include formatted messages equals to true. Okay, after that we are going to say here, remember that we need to also add the Azure Application Insights connection string. So right now we don't have it over here, so but I'll just show you how to do that. Options dot add Azure Monitor log exporter opt colon enter, and here I'm going to say opt dot connection string equals to builder dot configuration, and here I'm going to add the Azure connections, Azure Monitor colon connection string. So this is not defined yet in our app setting, which we are going to do it. So add it over here, this is over here, and here I'm adding. So this is the code that you need to add for logs. Before we proceed for traces and matrices, we will go and add our app setting connection string over here for Azure. It is still not created. We are going to do that, but I'm going to do just include that as well. So this will be, we will create a key called Azure Monitor, which I had defined in my program files, colon, and this is my connection string, which will be connection string, and here I'm going to ideally paste the connection string, Azure connection, which I'm going to create. Okay, so for now I'm just going to leave it as it is. You see, this is my Azure Monitor, which I've defined in the program. So here you can see Azure Monitor, and this is a connection string. You can also name it as Azure connection string so that it is clear. I'm going to copy this and paste it over here, Azure connection. Now the value, we are going to do that, but before we do that, let's also add the code to log the, so this is for the logs. We need to also use for metrics and traces, so which will do that. So this is the below code, and that I'm going to paste is for capturing traces. And okay, so this is the code over here. I'll just reduce the font size so that it is visible in one screen. So here, this is the code. One more, yeah. So here you can see this is the code, add telemetrics with tracing and with metrics. So here with tracing we have a similar code, trace builder, and we are adding this add ESP core instrument, client instrument, and Azure trace connection strings. Similarly, we have matrices, and we are adding these libraries. It is in the same format. So I had used over here OPT options over here and OPT over here, and they have used trace provider. You can change it. You can simply add your like trace OPT options and then paste it over here. It's the same thing, so no need to get confused. This is matrix builder. So here instead of matrix builder, you can add options, and this can be pasted over here. So here you can see, guys, we have added, first I showed you how to add your logs over here, then your trace and matrices over here. Okay, so now once we have the entire setup ready, one more thing we need to do over here is that we need to go to a controller and also enable logging. So you might also need to explicitly log your request and response, which you for your troubleshooting of your auditing. So that you can do. Even this will be displayed in your Azure Monitor. Let's add those parameters as well. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So what we need to do is that we need to add one more variable over here called private read only iLogger, and this will be having our entity employee. Sorry, this will be having our controller. So this is our employee controller, and here it will be logger. Okay, and then we are going to inject that over here. This is our logger, and we are going to initiate that over here. So this is done. So once we do this, what we need to do is simply add it over here. For example, in our index which is fetching the logs, which is fetching the data, I'm going to say logger dot log information, and this will say fetching employees list at, and you can also have a time. And this will be date time dot UTC now. Okay, so this is one entry. So this, you can see when I run this now, this logger will log this information, and you can see this information in your monitor service as well. So this connection string, I have mentioned it wrong. Azure Monitor, Azure connection string. Okay, so since I don't have the connection string, so you can see the error. So I need to now go ahead and actually create that connection string. So for that, I will have to log into Azure portal. So let's do that. Let's log into Azure and create our Azure portal. Click on sign in. I'll just enter my password. No, and it is logged in. Now once you log into Azure portal, you will search for application insight. So here it is there. You can also search application insight over here, and you can get it, application insight. I have no application insight created as of now. So Azure Application Insight is an extensible application performance management, APM, application performance management service that provides developer with deep insights into their web application performance, availability and usage. So let's create one. Okay, this is my subscription and this is my DigitalTechJoint group, and I'm going to name it as employee monitoring. So let me say employee monitor. Okay, and this is the default setting I'm keeping, and I'll click on review and create. So it's getting created. Validation passed, and I'm going to click on create, and you can see it's getting created. Submitting, deployment in progress, and it should be done fast. This is just an application insight deployment. So we have completed the deployment of application insight, and let's go to the resource. Now once you go to the resource, here you can see employee monitor is the application insight that we have created, and we will explain this once we connect our application with logs and matrices over here. It has a lot of functional features. Our scope of this tutorial is not to explain each and every features of an application, Microsoft Application Insights, but basics one will cover. But it was more of how do you connect your how do you integrate your OpenTelemetry in your ASP.NET application and display that into your monitor, that is App Insight Monitor. Here you can see the connection string that is missing, so I'm going to just copy that connection string over here, and then I'm going to come over here and click on App Settings, and I'm going to paste that Yes, this is the connection string that we have pasted. Now we should be able to run the application and we should not get any error, because now we have the proper connection string of Azure App Insights. But still there is an error. A connection string was not found. Please set your connection string. Okay, so let me just check. Where is the issue? Let me add a semicolon over here and run it. Still there is an error. Let me just check. So we figured out the issue. If you can see Azure Monitor, Azure connection string, and here I mentioned only connection string. So this was the issue. The connection string was not properly defined as defined in the app setting. So if you go app setting class, if you go to app setting, I added this. I thought this was the issue, but this was not the issue. The name of the is app Azure connection string. So now hopefully let's run and we should be able to successfully get connected. Absolutely right. So we are able to connect. Now we will go back to our code, and here this we have added this log. Let us see whether this log is successfully getting. So I'm going to click on employees, and here you can see the log. It is added. Okay, so we are able to see the employees. So what we are going to do is that similarly we are going to add some exception in our class and see how that is getting tracked in our, how do we see that into our Azure monitoring tool. So in the create, what I'm going to do is that add a try catch. So I'm going to say try, and this will be my catch. Okay, and then my catch. Here I'm going to copy this, paste it inside the try. So my try will execute when it is working fantastic without any exception. And inside the catch, so here I'm going to say, I'm going to still use this one, log information, and here I'm going to log it saying that, okay, and say successfully created employee details on or at whatever. Okay, so this is log information. What happens in the exception? What I'm going to do is that in the exception I'm going to catch the exception. I'm going to say exception, and here I'm going to still use logger. This time not log information, log error, and I'm going to return the error. So what I'll do is that I'm going to say exception, then space time, and this will be ex.innerException.toString, comma date time dot UTC now. That's it. Okay, and what I'll do is that I'm going to say return view. This will be employee details, same details. So it'll right now I'm not going to show that error on the front end. I'm going to put a breakpoint whenever there's an so this will get executed log information, but we'll have to create an exception so that our exception block is called. So I'm going to say create and name it sam@radium.com information tech. Okay, and we'll click on save. So now you can see it's getting called and my information is logged. Okay, so here I can add it. I'll say edit and save. So we are doing some navigation so that it all gets logged in our Azure Monitor. So I'm going to add one more. I'm going to name as William. This will be design team. Okay, so here also it will get. I'm going to remove this and save it. Okay, so this is one thing, and let us go to now Azure tool and see what's happening over here there. So this is our application class. Let's go to our resource and home page, and here you can see employee monitor. Here you can see this is a dashboard that is a very comprehensive dashboard where it shows field request, response request time. So you can see there is some navigation happening, server request response, availability is full, so there's full availability, there's no issue. So these are the no information that is displayed. Obviously there is you can also provide access to your user on this particular insight. You may want that only particular admin user have access to this implementer, that you can configure over here. You also have activity logs, whatever is happening in implementer can be displayed over here. Then there is a whole lot of, you can tag it. So for example, right now there is no tagging mentioned. If you go to your home page here, you can see you can tag it. You can name this as employee monitor tool, something like that. You can tag it, so this tag gets saved over here. And then there is diagnose and solve problem. Then this is a resource visualizer. Here you can see there are two aspects, since we have our application inside over here, implementer, and this is the source that is connecting. Okay, so this is one thing. Then we have something called investigate. Here we have application. So you can see all this is getting displayed. Application map. Now application map is a very fantastic tool, and as I told you, our scope is limited to how do you connect it. So here is a local host that is getting connected, and then you have an application, we have an instance. You can see and once you click on view details, you see the logs. These are the few logs that are displayed post get that we did right now. And then we have something called once you investigate. So there is a performance window also. So when you click on this, you can see the performance window over here. You can see how the data, how the application is getting performed, and you can drill down further. You can see the number of URLs called and the milliseconds it was called, the number of times it was called. It also gives you code optimization profiler, which is not enabled, and then view logs. So view logs is nothing but you can query it. So all these features are there. So what I'm going to do is that show you one small example of failures. We have also transaction search, where you can see all the data that is be displayed. So you can see get, post, request, everything is displayed. It's a very fantastic tool. Number of total requests, traces, dependencies, everything is displayed over here. It's just a matter that you connect your library and then connect the output to your Azure App Insights, and then you get a lot of information that can be used to optimize your performance applications, and also trace your exception at early stage so that you can fix it. So let me do one thing. Let me if you go to the failures, you see there is no failures overall, but let me do one thing. Let me just add one failure. Once you create an employee, then let me just change the index to index 1, which is a wrong redirection. Let me go ahead and add one record, and also show you database failures as well. So once you click on employee and say add, and then say cat@yahoo.com marketing, and you can click on save. The moment I click on save, there's an exception because we didn't handle that exception, but I want to show you that this is a redirection exception. And when you go to your application insight and click on just refresh it once, you should be able to see one failure over here, which is your application redirection. It takes some time to display that. Okay, here you can see now there's a failure over here. field count 1, and this is purely because there was an URL redirection was done and which was wrong. So here you can see it is the field count over is displayed over here. So similarly, you have already showed you performance. Here you can see the entire performance stack can be displayed day wise, minutes wise, second wise, all can be displayed over here. And I'll also show you other voice information is also displayed, like from where, which location this has been called, and what is the request response details. Everything is mentioned over here. It's a lot of info. These are the resources that are getting loaded while your application is getting executed. So this was one, and then obviously there's something called log. But before we get into log is nothing but it is a KQL mode of queries where you can run your queries, and it typically uses traces. These are the traces window where you can query or trace records. That I'll show it to you. But before I go, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to database and reduce the size of the department to 5. Okay, and then go back to our application and just click on home and add a new employees, Anthony@yahoo.com, and I'm going to increase the size now. So now this will definitely lead to an exception. Let me put a breakpoint over here because data is getting truncated. So obviously it lead to an exception. So click on save. Now it is called over here. Yes, so here you can see once you click on save, there is an exception, and now this exception is getting logged. And obviously, so once the exception is getting logged, if you go to your monitor tool, you should be able to see those exception over here, failed exception. So here you can see field request that I was referring to. This is a server count, and now we'll also be able to see the issues that we encountered over here. And if you go to your log, even this shows you number of calls and the milliseconds. Just I wanted to show you to that. And so you can see this is now you can see there is an error showing over here, and you will also see database exception as well in your logs. So now if you go to logs and run the traces, you should be able to see that. I'll just run 1 or 2 commands so that it is clear how do you do that. So you just typically have to write traces, and you can say enter and then sort by time. And once you run the query, you should be able to see all these commands over here. So if you can see traces is like it can be shown in your chart format also. So you can see all the informations are getting displayed over here, and the result is over here. So now you can here see, if you see the first record that I was explaining, there is an exception, and here you can see the exception details as well. This is what I was trying to show it to you. You can see the error is captured string binary data could be truncated. So this is how you, in fact, these traces will all have all your informations, the one which we created. Okay, and you can see it has the complete information of event tracking, everything displayed over here, and this can be filtered. So you can also write your query to filter and get data from out of here. I will not cover much topic on how do you do the query. It is there covered in the documentation, but still 1 or 2 queries I'll definitely execute and show it to you. So here we can also use something called traces where severity is level 1. So there is a column called severity, and then there is also you can use pipe, and you can use where message contains employees, and sort by time start. So when I run this query, I will get all the severity that is 1. Now our database exception was there, so let me just see whether it is falls under severity 3. And here you can see there is a severity 3 level which says that your data got truncated, and that is why you are not able to save it. So similarly there is severity 2 as well, but let me just check. Yes, there is no severity 2. So you can filter this as well. You can also remove this and filter based on where message contains employees. You should be able to give that. I think we have mentioned successful, so we should be able to see. Yes, you can see this is our request that got successfully added. So employees that got successfully saved is also displayed over here. The complete trace and records are displayed over here. So this is how we can use. There are a lot of other features. There's also live metrics that you need to do a connectivity, add those libraries to your application, and you have a complete live tracing over here, where you can see it's getting displayed lively. This is just a demo, but you can also do that. And there's transaction shell, which I showed it to you, which has a complete stack of requests, trace, dependencies, exceptions. So you can see there's one exception over here. Okay, and you can also group it. So this is how it is getting grouped. So there are a lot of information, lot of insights that you can use it. Especially this is just one page of CRUD application, but just imagine enterprise application, how much information that it can throw, and it can help the developer or the admin to track the performance and use scalability and availability of the application. So this is what I wanted to convey with this. The tutorial is getting over, but before the tutorial gets over, guys, I've actually created this application just to cover the most important topic of how to integrate OpenTelemetry, which I showed to you in my start of the demo. OpenTelemetry, how to use OpenTelemetry open source, and then display all the stack, that is logs, traces, matrices in your Azure Application Insights, which is over here. And I showed you the complete information. So with this we complete the tutorial. And guys, I'll really appreciate if you guys comment and like my videos. Really appreciate if you also share my channel link with your family, friends and colleagues, and help me to grow my DigitalTechJoint channel. Thank you so much for your time.